Imagine this. You're just walking home minding your own business when suddenly flashing lights blind you. A cop slams his car door shut, stomping toward you with his fists clenched. No warning, no explanation, just pure aggression. That's exactly what happened to Marcus Johnson on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday night. But here's the thing. Marcus wasn't just any black man. And by the time this cop realized who he was messing with, it was already too late. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Officer Dan Harris had a reputation in the precinct. Quick to judge, even quicker to throw his weight around. And when he saw Marcus walking through the upscale neighborhood that night, his mind jumped to the worst assumptions. "You don't belong here?" Harris barked, his hand already resting on his baton. Marcus stayed calm, but that only seemed to piss the cop off more. Then in a split second, bam! A punch landed right across Marcus's jaw. But here's where everything flipped. As Marcus wiped the blood from his lip, he reached into his pocket. Harris tensed, expecting a weapon. Instead, Marcus pulled out a badge of his own, but not a police badge, a city seal. And that's when it hit Harris like a freight train. This wasn't just some random guy. This was Mayor Marcus Johnson, the same man who'd been fighting for police reform, the same man who had the power to end Harris's career with one phone call. The cop's face went pale. His bravado vanished. And in that frozen moment, Marcus didn't say a word. He just stared, cold, calculating. Because now, this wasn't just about one punch. This was about justice, and Harris had no idea what was coming next. Pause for suspense, cut to black or next scene. Want to know what happens when a racist cop realizes he just assaulted the most powerful man in the city? Stick around, because this story is far from over. The silence between them was deafening. Officer Harris's breath came out in short, panicked bursts as his mind raced. How the hell did I not recognize him? He'd seen the mayor on TV and the papers, but in the dim streetlight with Marcus wearing a hoodie and jeans, he hadn't made the connection. Now, the weight of his mistake crashed down on him. One wrong move, and his career, maybe even his freedom, was over. Marcus stayed eerily calm, his eyes locked onto Harris like a predator sizing up prey. He dabbed at his split lip with the back of his hand, then slowly straightened up to his full height. Harris had seen that look before, on suspects who knew they had the upper hand. But this wasn't some street thug. This was a man who had spent years navigating backroom deals, political battles, and public scandals. And right now, Marcus wasn't just angry. He was calculating. "You got a name, officer?" Marcus finally asked, his voice low but razor sharp. Harris hesitated. Giving his name felt like signing a death warrant. But refusing, that would only make things worse. "Harris," he muttered. "Dan Harris." Marcus nodded like he was filing the information away for later. Then, without breaking eye contact, he pulled out his phone. Harris's stomach dropped. He's calling the chief, or the press, or... But Marcus didn't dial a number. He just tapped the screen a few times, then held it up. The glow illuminated a video, Harris's own fist connecting with Marcus's face. He recorded it. Harris's blood ran cold. In today's world, a video like that could go viral in minutes. Protests, investigations, termination, all of it was on the table now. His hands trembled, the adrenaline from the fight turning into pure dread. "Mayor Johnson, listen." "Save it," Marcus cut him off. "We're way past apologies." A car rolled by slowly, the driver glancing at the scene before speeding up. Harris wished he could disappear. He'd spent years thinking he was untouchable, that his badge gave him the right to act first and ask questions later. But now, he was standing in front of the one man who could destroy him with a single word. Marcus slipped his phone back into his pocket. "You've got a choice, Harris. Walk away now, pretend this never happened, and wait for the storm to come, or we talk. Right here, right now." Harris swallowed hard. "Talk about what?" Marcus smirked, but there was no humor in it. "About why a cop with 12 years on the force thinks it's okay to assault a black man for walking. About why guys like you never learn. Harris opened his mouth to argue, but the words died in his throat. Because deep down he knew Marcus was right. This wasn't his first time overstepping, just the first time he'd been caught. Across the street, a curtain twitched in a nearby house. Someone had seen. Someone always saw. Harris's mind spiraled. What if this got out? What if his wife found out? His kids? The mayor was watching him like he could read every panicked thought, and that only made it worse. Then Marcus took a step closer. You think this is just about you and me? It's not. This is about every person you've ever harassed. Every person who didn't have the power to fight back. His voice dropped to a whisper. But I do. Harris's radio crackled to life, dispatch calling for backup a few blocks over. The normalcy of it felt surreal. Just minutes ago, he'd been the one in control. Now, he was at the mercy of the man he'd just punched. Marcus glanced at the patrol car, then back at Harris. You gonna answer that? Harris didn't move. He was frozen, torn between duty and self-preservation. Marcus leaned in, his next words sending a chill down Harris's spine. Or do you finally want to admit the truth? Continued story. Next 1,000 words. The radio kept crackling, the dispatcher's voice growing more urgent, but Harris couldn't bring himself to move. His whole body felt locked in place under Marcus's stare. The mayor wasn't just some politician reading off cue cards. This man had fire in his eyes, the kind that came from years of swallowing injustice and finally reaching his limit. You want the truth? Harris finally choked out, his voice barely above a whisper. Fine. I screwed up. I saw a black guy in a neighborhood like this and I assumed... You assumed what? Exactly? Marcus cut in, his tone like ice. That I was breaking into one of these $500,000 homes? That I was dealing drugs on the corner? Or did you just see my skin and decide I was guilty of something? Harris flinched. He wanted to argue, to defend himself, but the words stuck in his throat. Because deep down? Marcus was right. Harris had made a snap judgment the second he saw him. And now, with that video evidence, there was no spinning this. A siren wailed in the distance, pulling Harris's attention for just a second, long enough for Marcus to step even closer, invading his space. You know what's funny? Marcus said, his voice low. I live here, bought this house 3 years ago, but I bet you've never even noticed, have you? Too busy profiling anyone who doesn't fit your idea of who belongs. Harris's stomach twisted. He had patrolled this neighborhood for years, and yet he'd never once seen Marcus outside of a suit on the news. Across the street, a porch light flicked on, then another. People were watching now, phones in hand, recording. Harris's pulse pounded in his ears. This wasn't just going to be a disciplinary write-up anymore. This was about to be a scandal. Marcus must have noticed the shift too, because he smirked. Not with amusement, but with something darker. Looks like we've got an audience, he murmured. What do you think they're going to say when they find out Officer Dan Harris assaulted the mayor in cold blood? Harris's mouth went dry. He could already see the headlines, the protests, the news vans camped outside his house. His career was over. His life was over. But then, Marcus did something unexpected. He took a step back. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. You're going to get in your car and you're going to leave. No radio calls, no backup. You're going to drive away like none of this ever happened. Harris blinked. And then what? Marcus's expression hardened. And then you wait. Because this isn't just about you and me. This is about every person you've ever wronged. And trust me, they will have their say. Harris opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, his radio blared again. This time, a different voice. All units, be advised, we've got a 1078 at the precinct. Press is here asking about an incident involving an officer and Mayor Johnson. Harris's blood turned to ice. How? It hadn't even been 10 minutes. Marcus chuckled, but there was no humor in it. Guess the cat's out of the bag. He pulled out his phone again, tapping the screen. See, while you were standing here panicking, someone already posted their footage online. And now? He turned the screen toward Harris. The video had already racked up thousands of views. Now the whole city's watching. Harris's legs nearly gave out. This was worse than he could have imagined, but Marcus wasn't done. You've got two choices, Harris. You can run, hide, pretend this'll all blow over, or... He paused, his gaze boring into Harris like he could see straight through him. You can finally face what you've done. A car door slammed nearby. Voices shouted. The crowd was growing, and Harris realized, with a sinking certainty, that there was no walking away from this.